Not everything you've heard about money is true. Most of the mainstream narrative around money has been disproven by modern developed society time and time again. Watch this video until the end, where I will debunk some of these myths, because if you end up believing these myths, they'll end up keeping you poor and making you think that money is bad. Here are 7 money myths debunked. Myth number 1. Money is evil. Many people think that money is evil, but this is just a myth. You know, we spend our entire lives trying to make money, but many people don't spend a second trying to get to understand money. And that's why people think money is evil, but money is just what you make of it. You can either be friends with it or enemies with it. I believe that money has 2 personalities. The first personality is the kind personality that has your back, and this is in the form of savings and investments. The second personality of money is the evil personality, the personality that walks all over you, and this is debt and loans. Since most people never take the time to get to understand money, they only get to know the evil side of money. But it's a myth to think that money is evil, because money isn't evil. It's the lack of money that is evil. When you have no money, and you have debts, then money seems evil, but if you take control of your personal finance, then money is your best friend. Comment below on what you think about money. Is it your best friend or evil? Myth number 2. Rich people wear designer clothes and drive sports cars. When I was a young naive little kid, I used to think that rich people are very materialistic who wear designer clothes, lived in mansions, and drove sports cars. I just perceived rich people as the people on MTV Cribs. But now, as a fully grown adult, I know that these are not rich people but people who are drowning in debt. Social media portrays rich people as people who live very materialistic lives and spend their money without any cares, but this is a false portrayal of rich. Because the reality is the average rich person did not get rich by spending their money but by not spending their money. I mean, the average millionaire got that way by living below their means, not seeking material status symbols and being frugal. It's an absurd myth to think that the rich spend all their money because spending money is what makes someone poor. And when you see these people who live in giant mansions and have 4-car garages, they're most likely just drowning in debt. The average wealthy person gets their wealth not from a high salary or all these status symbols but by living below their means and not seeking material status symbols and being patient. Myth number 3. Someone else has solution to your money problems. You know, we put a little too much faith in people who we have never met before, thinking that some stranger is going to solve all our money problems. But as nice as that sounds, that is literally impossible, because money isn't the problem. Lack of financial education is the problem. If we do some magic and say we are starting over and no one has any debt anymore, within a month people will start getting into debt by buying cars and big houses. So, the issue at hand is more personal and cannot be solved from outside. If you don't educate yourself on budgeting, frugality, and money management, then it's impossible to have a healthy relationship with money. Getting someone else to solve your money problems is a short-term solution to a long-term problem, because if someone solved all your money problems, what's stopping you from getting back in same situation? It's nice to think that someone else could solve our problems, but it's a myth, because money is about personal responsibility. It's about educating yourself on money management and budgeting. That's something that only you can do. Not me, not some random stranger, but you. It's not the answer that people want to hear, but it's the truth. Myth number 4. Life is expensive. Life is much more expensive now than it was 100 years ago, and the reason for that is partly because things cost more. But the main reason is because we have so many temptations put in front of us. 100 years ago, there wasn't Amazon or Nike or a million different streaming services. People didn't spend that much money because there wasn't anything to buy, and life didn't have as many temptations. Now that we have all this stuff to spend our money on, life seems expensive. Book called Dopamine Nation talks about how in our society we're faced with so many temptations and so many pleasures that our primitive brains can't handle it. And our dopamine pain balance gets off. We always want the nice things, we want the shiny car, the new phone, the big house, and we're always seeking pleasure after pleasure. We've truly forgotten the difference between a need and a want. I'm going to explain that right now. A need is something you can't live without, like food, water, and shelter, and a want is everything else. It's a myth to think that life is very expensive, because life is a lot less expensive when your needs are less. And life is more expensive when you forget difference between needs and wants. One of the goals of this channel is to show people that you don't need as much money to survive as you think you do. Myth number 5. More money is the only answer to your problems. One of the big problems that we have with personal finance is thinking that the only way to solve money problems is to make more money. The only way to have a healthy relationship with money is to get a raise or to get a bonus, and for some people that is true. But for some people, no matter how frugal they are, it's still impossible to make ends meet. But the reality is there are two ways to solve money problems: you can make more or spend less. I think that one of the big problems that we have with money nowadays is that we just have too many wants. We want to eat out every single day, we want the big house, we want the nice car, and then we say I need to be making more money. It's a lot easier to spend less. When you spend less money, you don't need to make as much money. It's much easier to make ends meet because your living expenses are so low, and it's a myth to think that there's only one solution to money problems. Myth number 6. Expensive things are better. Lot of the times when something is more expensive, we assume that it is better, but this is not always true. Sometimes it just means you're getting ripped off. Sometimes clothes or other necessities are of good quality, are available at good price, but we tend to buy expensive ones based on brand, resulting in overspending. We assume that just because something is more expensive that it is better, but this is just a myth because a lot of times what determines the price is the logo in the packaging. And we need to think more critically when we spend our money, because most of the time when we overpay, we're simply just getting ripped off. Myth number 7. The past was better than the present. One of the things that I've been wondering about lately is how crazy the world is, and how crazy the world has always been. When it comes to money in personal finance, we look at the present and just panic about all the crazy stuff that is going on. Then look at the past as if it was a better time to invest or save and we missed out. But the only reason we look so fondly on the past is because we know what happened, we know the answers, and we know that we made it out okay. In the present we don't know that, we don't know what's going to happen with inflation or the stock market or economy in general. But I think that if you just take personal responsibility over your finance and do your best, it will all turn out to be okay. Money is just a misunderstood crazy friend, and all we need to do is just knock on the invisible door we have created and have a conversation with money. We would realize that none of these myths are true. See you in the next video.